Objective Geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solved question paper of Telangana SET 2023 question paper, and I hope this solved question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSR, NET-GATE, GSI, Civil Services exam and other exams. Welcome to SET 2. Coming to the first question. El Nino Southern Oscillation ENSO is an A. Oceanic process, B. Atmospheric process, C. Ocean atmospheric process, and D. Ocean atmosphere land process. El Nino Southern Oscillation ENSO is an ocean atmospheric process. ENSO is a recurring climate pattern involving changes in the temperatures of waters in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. So it is an ocean atmospheric process. C is the correct answer. Next question. Global scale events at 1.8 billion years and 0.9 billion years ago, it refers to A. Amalgamation of supercontinents Columbia and Rhodesia, B. Amalgamation of supercontinent Columbia and fragmentation of Rhodesia, C. Fragmentation of supercontinents Columbia and Rhodesia, and D. Fragmentation of supercontinent Columbia and amalgamation of Rhodesia. So the correct answer is B. Amalgamation of supercontinent Columbia and fragmentation of Rhodesia. So global scale events at nearly about 1.8 billion years ago and 0.9 billion years ago, it refers to this supercontinent like amalgamation of supercontinent Columbia and division or fragmentation of Rhodesia. So B is the correct option. Next question. To distinguish between different rock types, a sensor with high resolution is best. So to distinguish different rock types, the sensor with high water resolution is best. A. Spatial and temporal, B. Spatial and radiometric, C. Spectral and temporal, D. Spectral and radiometric. So the correct option is spectral and radiometric. Sensors with the high radiometric resolution are able to detect relatively small differences. These are represented by the darker and thinner band. And finally, there is a spectral resolution, the ability of a sensor to detect small differences in the wavelength. And for example, panchromatic film is sensitive to a broad range of wavelengths. So D, spectral and radiometric is the correct option. Next question. Porphyry type copper deposits are associated with A. Intracratonic rift setting, B. Mid-oceanic ridge setting, C. Continent-ocean subduction setting, and D. Ocean-ocean subduction setting. Porphyry type copper deposits are associated with the continent-ocean subduction setting. Porphyry deposits, they occur in a variety of tectonic settings, and porphyry copper deposits, they typically occur in the root zones of andesitic stratovolcanoes in the subduction related continental and island arc settings. So that's why they are associated with continent ocean subduction setting. C is the correct option. Next question. So here assertion and reasoning is given. So the assertion is AFM diagram is useful for the study of pelitic rocks. Reason is pelitic rocks are rich in plagioclase feldspar and quartz. So from the you have to select the correct options like A. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation. B. Both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. So by observing this, the correct option is the C. That means AFM diagram is generally useful for the study of the pelitic rocks. It is true. But the pelitic rocks are rich in plagioclase feldspar and quartz is not correct because the pelitic rocks may contain clay and quartz. So that's why C. A is true but R is false is the correct option. Next question. The rate of sediment accumulation is minimum at A. Continent shelves, B. Continental slope, C. Continent rises, D. Deep ocean floor. The rate of sediment accumulation is minimum at the deep ocean floor. The deep sea sediments are typically, they have sedimentation rates less than 30 meters per 106 years. That means roughly around for 106 years, the rate of sedimentation is less than 30 meters. And the rate is as low as 0.1 meters by 106 years. So this has been reported. So that's why the rate of sediment accumulation is very minimum at the deep ocean floor. D is the correct option. Next question. Waterfalls and rapids along the river courses indicates which stage of the river? So waterfalls and rapids of the river course, they indicate which stage of the river. So the options are A. Youthful, B. Mature, C. Old, D. Very old. So waterfalls and rapids, so these we can found at the very young stage, that means the youthful stage. So that's why A is the correct option. So waterfalls and rapids, they are formed at the very initial level, that means the youth stage of a river cycle. So A is the correct option. Next question. Atmosphere of a planet Mars is almost entirely made up of CO2, but the surface temperature of Mars is less than that of the Earth because A. Carbon dioxide does not act as a greenhouse in the absence of other gases. B. Of the absence of ozone. C. Of the absence of volcanic activity. D. Mars has a larger orbit than the Earth. So out of this, the correct option is that planet Mars, in orbit Mars, it is about 50 million miles farther away from the sun than the Earth. So this means that it gets a lot less light and heat to keep it warm. Mars also has a hard time holding on to the heat it does get. So that's why on the Earth, much of the sun's heat gets trapped in our atmosphere, which acts like a blanket to keep our planet warm. So that's why Mars has a larger orbit than the Earth is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following minerals in the Mohs scale of hardness is a silicate? So options are A. Apatite, B. Fluorite, C. Topaz, D. Corundum. So the correct option is C. Topaz. So because all these minerals, like if you see in the Mohs scale of hardness, apatite is a phosphate, fluorite is a halide, and corundum, it is Al2O3, it's an oxide. So the topaz is a silicate. So that's why C. Topaz is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following is not a plate boundary? The options are A. Carlsberg Ridge, B. Southeast Indian Ridge, C. East Pacific Rise, and D. 90 East Ridge. So 90 East Ridge is not a plate boundary. 90 East Ridge, it is a mid-oceanic ridge on the Indian Ocean floor, and it is named for its near parallel strike along the 90th meridian at the center of the eastern hemisphere. So 90 East Ridge is not a plate boundary. It's an oceanic ridge. Next question. The highest feature on a floodplain are A. Point bars, B. Meander scrolls, C. Back swamps, and D. Natural levees. So the correct option is natural levees. Natural levees, they form the highest surfaces along the active floodplain, and the relict natural levees, they remain part of the floodplain after a channel cutoff, and floodplains inundation flow paths are displayed by arrows. So the highest feature of the floodplain on a floodplain are natural levees. D is the correct option. Next question. Higher rate of silicate weathering leads to. So if the silicate weathering is high, what happens? A. Increase in CO2 atmosphere. B. Decrease in carbon dioxide atmosphere. C. Increase in oxygen atmosphere. And D. Decrease in moisture content in the atmosphere. So higher rate of silicate weathering leads to decrease in the carbon dioxide atmosphere. So global climate is thought to be modulated by the supply of the minerals to the earth's surface, and whereas this silicate weathering, it removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So weathering of accessory carbonate and sulfide minerals is a geologically relevant source of carbon dioxide. So higher rate of silicate weathering leads to decrease in carbon dioxide atmosphere. B is the correct option. Next question. Which one of the following is not a common set of secondary minerals formed by weathering? Options are A. Hematite, goethite, gibbsite, B. Goethite, gibbsite, gypsum, C. Gibbsite, hematite, kaolinite, and D. Kaolinite, goethite, and gibbsite. So the correct option is B. Goethite, gibbsite, and gypsum. They are not a set of minerals which are formed by weathering. So that's why B is the correct option. Next question. The degree of a freedom at eutectic point of a binary system is A. 0, B. 1, C. 2, and D. 3. So the degree of freedom at eutectic point of a binary system is 0. 0 is the correct option. According to the Gibbs phase rule, for two component system, which indicates that the eutectic temperature, there are no degrees of freedom. So the degree of freedom is 0 and the system is thus invariant. So at the eutectic point, the liquid can exist at the lowest temperature. So A0 is the correct option. Magmas which show low concentration of large ion lithophile elements are A. Primary magmas, B. Enriched magmas, C. Depleted magmas, and D. Primitive magma. So magmas that show low concentration of large ion lithophile elements are depleted magmas. So that's why C, depleted magmas is the correct answer. The depleted magmas, they forms by partial melting of the upper mantle at mid-oceanic ridges and hard spots, and partial melting, it depletes the residual mantle in the incompatible elements and preferentially it incorporates them into the general generated melt. So magmas which show a low concentration of large ion lithophile elements are known as depleted magmas. Next question. Which one of the following statements about normalized difference vegetation index, that is NDVI, is incorrect? So the options are A. NDVI is directly related to the percent of ground cover and amount of biomass. B. Greater difference between near infrared and red reflectance indicates less vegetation. And C. NDVI values close to zero represent bare soil. And C. Higher values of NDVI represent dense green vegetation. So the correct option is greater difference between near infrared and red reflectance, it indicates less vegetation, is not correct. Whereas the other statements like NDVI is directly related to the percent of the ground cover and amount of the biomass is correct. And NDVI values close to zero represent bare soil, this is also right. And higher values of NDVI, they represent dense green vegetation, this is also correct. So the only incorrect statement is B. So that's why B is the correct option. Next question. Weathering of granite leads to formation of solid residual minerals and release of some elements as dissolved ions. So the elements released are A. Silicon and aluminium, B. Sodium and potassium, C. Iron and manganese, D. Silicon, aluminium and iron. So weathering of the granite, it leads to the formation of residual minerals. They release sodium and potassium as dissolved ions. So that's why, so these are the sodium and potassium are the released elements. Next question. Presence of minerals such as pyrite and uraninite as detrital minerals in sedimentary rocks suggests that at the time of the deposition, A. Chemical weathering was not active, B. Provenance weathered at a fast rate, C. Atmosphere had about 1% CO2, and D. Atmosphere had negligible oxygen. So the presence of minerals such as pyrite and uraninite as a detrital minerals in secondary sedimentary rocks, they suggest that at the time of the deposition, the atmosphere has very negligible oxygen. So oxygen was not present at that time. So that's why the atmosphere has no negligible oxygen at the time of the deposition. So D is the correct option. Next question. Detached clouds in the form of white delicate filaments, mostly white patches or narrow bands, are called as A. Cirrus, B. Stratus, C. Altostratus, D. Stratocumulus. So detached clouds in the form of white delicate filaments, mostly white patches of or narrow bands, are called as a cirrus. Cirrus clouds are very short and detached hair-like clouds found at high altitudes. So these cirrus clouds are found at high altitudes, and these delicate clouds are wispy with a silky sheen, or they look like tufts of hair similarly. So in the daytime they are whiter than any other clouds in the sky. So A, cirrus is the correct option. Next question. In terms of optical properties, which of the following mineral is not from the same group? That means with related to the optical properties, which of the following mineral has a different? So A, quartz, B, apatite, C, calcite, and D, biotite. So the correct option is D, biotite. So biotite, it differs from the rest of the minerals in terms of optical properties, because quartz is uniaxial positive and apatite is uniaxial negative and calcite is uniaxial negative, whereas the biotite is biaxial negative. So that's why D is the correct option. Hope you have learned some important points in this from this solved question paper, and hope you can subscribe and see you in the next video. Thank you for your time.